Welcome to another edition of our 2021 Ticats season preview podcast powered by TELUS. I'm the Tiger Cats digital host, Louie B, and thanks so much for spending some time with me today. On today's show, we are taking a look at the defensive line and linebackers. While there have been some changes since the Cats last took the field in 2019, the core that finished the league with the least total points allowed, held opposing quarterbacks to the worst completion rate, and finished just 3 sacks back of first in the league, will be returning for a chance to lift the Grey Cup at Tim Hortons Field come December 12th. We've got a great lineup of guests coming up today. We'll start with defensive coordinator Mark Washington. We'll catch up with defensive end Julian Howsare. We'll chat with CFL.ca columnist Matt Cauz on his thoughts on the season, and we'll wrap up the show with Canadian Football Hall of Famer, all-time great Grover Covington, as we take a walk down memory lane with some great stories from his training camp days. So sit back and relax, and don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get this thing started with my conversation with DC Mark Washington. And if we're talking about the linebackers, if we're talking about the defensive line, who better to talk about that with than the defensive coordinator of the Ticats? That's Mark Washington. Coach Washington, it is great to see you. You have got to be like a kid in the week before Christmas or something. Like, you got to be excited.
Yeah, it is feeling, we're really excited to finally be getting back on the field and being able to play back in the building, back here in the offices and whatnot. So, we're getting closer every single day. And, man, we're really excited. We're really getting fired up. Everybody's been working so hard, so diligently over the last year and a half. And so finally to get this opportunity, we're really excited.
It's been so long since guys have been on the field, and especially defense, right? Especially guys who are built to hit other people. Like, how do you keep tabs on that? Like, and are you kind of impressed with guys who've gone out of their own way to really plan their own workouts, to stay in great shape? You know, we've seen updates from Sim, we've seen updates from Dylan. Like, are you impressed with how much guys have kind of put that on themselves to make sure they're in their best possible shape come Saturday?
Well, yeah, it's the mark of a true professional. It's a mark of a person who wants to be here. It's the mark of a person who wants to win a championship. And, we have all our guys are focused on that, focused on those things. They really want to be here. They're professionals. They understand how important it is. You can't come to camp and get in shape. You got to come to camp in shape. And these guys realize that. They understand it. They understand the expectations that we have. And, we're going to hold them to it. And more importantly, they hold themselves to it. They hold one another to it. So, you got to be impressed with that. At the same time, they understand we got to start fast. That's what our focus is, to be able to start quickly and start fast. And that, in order to do that, you got to be ready. And I know these guys are.
How important is the mentality that nothing is given on this team, that everything is earned? That I know Coach O, you love competition. It doesn't matter if you're a walk-on. It doesn't matter if you've been here 5 years, right? I mean, how important is that mentality with this organization?
Well, I think that mentality that permeates throughout the organization is actually a reflection of Hamilton itself. You got to earn it here, man. This city, this culture here in this city, it means that. You got to bring your lunch pail, your hard hat, your boots to work every day, and there's nothing better than the satisfaction of knowing you put a hard day's work in and you've earned everything you've gotten. And so, that permeates here into this organization from the top down. And, this is what we expect from our men. It doesn't matter, man. We understand that when in the fourth quarter, when the game is on the line, you have put the work in so you'll have the confidence to go out there and perform.
Now, the leadership on this defense, the Teddys, the Simonis, the Dylan Wins, how important are those guys away from the field, in the meeting rooms, in the locker rooms, at meals, like in terms of teaching the culture, teaching the game what they know? How important are those guys to this team right now?
Well, they lead the horse in that respect. And the guys will follow, and they understand what it means to be a Ticat, what it means to be a part of the Ticat D, the history with which, like we say all the time, we get to stand on the shoulders of those who built the Ticat defense. And so they fall in, the younger players or players that come in, they fall in line because they understand the passion. They understand that it takes more than what you do on the field. You know, on the field is important, and most guys handle their business there, but it also it goes off the field also, how you take yourself in the community. And then in this particular circumstance that we're in this season, and the uniqueness of this season, you know, we have to be, you got to be all in and fully committed to this process in order for us to get through this season in a successful manner and allow us to put ourselves in a position to do what we ultimately want, which is to raise that cup.
Now, on the defense as a whole, I know you've lost some guys. Rico Murray decided to call it a career. Delvin Breaux decided to call it a career. But you got to be excited with the guys that are here. The Jovan Santos Knoxes, the Ciante Evans that have been signed. Just those two specifically. Let's talk about Jovan because we are talking about linebackers here. So what do you like? What did you like about him, and where are you hoping that he can kind of find his game here in Hamilton?
Well, we targeted him, and he was his versatility excites me. His athleticism excites me. His passion, and you know, when he comes downhill, he comes downhill, and those are things that excite me as a coach, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And then with Ciante, I mean, he makes plays. I mean, that's what we want. We want guys that'll, you know, you put them in the environment to make a play, you set them up, and then you just allow their playmaking ability to take over. And he's been doing it a long time in this league, and that's what we're expecting also from him.
I was talking to Coach Butts about this a little bit earlier where, you know, I asked, you know, you guys were, you know, the fewest points, the fewest touchdowns, the lowest completion, you know, how do you build on that? And his response is, well, we didn't finish the goal. And the goal was to win. Touch on that for a bit.
And he's 100% right. We didn't finish the goal, but this is a whole new year. You know what I mean? So it's not about building on that. I mean, we're starting a whole new foundation. You know, we're digging a new foundation. We're laying it, and we're building on the foundation that we're going to establish this year. Do we expect those things? Of course we do, you know, but we also know that we're going to put our guys in position to do it. And then we know that our guys are going to put in the work in order to accomplish the things that we're looking forward to doing.
Are there going to be enough sacks to even go around for this defense? I mean, between Teddy and, you know, I mean, really, who's gonna lead the team in sacks? Give me
that's the fun part, man. That's, you know, hey, this is a passing league. You know, and hopefully they'll more than as long as there's quarterbacks throwing, there'll be enough sacks for us to go get, you know, and hopefully, you know, we all work together. You know, we play complementary football where, you know, we're going to be scoring a bunch of points. And so teams will be forced to get into their passing games a little bit more. And then, you know, then just let the dogs hunt.
Now, I know I mentioned Dylan Wynn, but he's someone who really seems to up his game every year and just seems to get the game a little bit better and understand it. Expectations for him going into this year. I know you're going to set him high, but is he someone who's probably going to set his own expectations higher than anybody else?
Well, that's the thing about Dylan. You don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about motivating him at all. You know, frankly, I don't worry about motivating any of our players. You know, if I have to motivate a player, then we got the wrong guy. You know, but Dylan, trust me, he's going to come in here, you know, 100% full. We're going to have to. He's going to be ready, man. And we don't have to worry about – he sets his expectations so high, and he so passionately wants this team to be successful. You know, he's going to do any and everything he can do to help us all be successful. And, you know, he's been that way from the moment he got here, and we don't expect anything different from him.
This has got to be like days where you wake up and you don't need coffee. You're ready to go, right? I mean, like that's the way. I know you got your Timmies. I know that, but you must wake up with just like football in the mind. And the closer we get to Saturday, it's just kind of like, what are you even going through right now?
You know what? I've been thinking football. You know,
you haven't stopped.
That's 2019, exactly. It hasn't stopped. It's just that, you know, finally we get to push the green button and go. You know what I mean? And that's what you plan for. That's what we've been preparing, all of this time. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I do get those moments where it's in the middle of the morning, you know, 3 a.m. I'm thinking, oh, we could run this, we can do this. that's when I know I'm like, wow, it's really here. You know what I mean? And I've been doing that for quite a while now.
What are you most excited about Saturday morning when you see, 90 plus players waiting to hit the field? What are you most excited about that day?
Hearing Sim say, "Let's go," because I know that's gonna get it. He'll say, "Let's go." He may say something else, if you know what I mean, but let's go. And that right there will be the start of camp.
Awesome. Well said, Coach. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Lou.
And we're continuing our conversation talking about the dangerous defense the Hamilton Tiger Cats will be putting on the field in 2021. And there's one of those weapons right there. It's Julian Howsare. Julian, it's great to see you, man. What are you feeling? You're kind of like a week out from training camp. What are you feeling right now?
It's a little different this year, that's for sure. I'm excited, that's for sure. But with the year and a half being off, it's just like, you're a little bit anxious, like ready to roll again. But yeah, overall, I'm excited, ready to go.
What, picture Saturday, 8:30 a.m., you're rolling into the stadium. What are you most excited about at 8:30 a.m. at Tim Hortons Field? What are you most kind of visualizing for that Saturday?
Just being back with the guys, just being back with the team and, being back in that atmosphere. It's been too long.
2019 didn't end the way you wanted to, but I've gotten the sense from the people I've talked to that that's in the past, that, nobody's dwelling on what happened. The focus is 2021. Is that an accurate way of looking at the way you guys are looking at the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just got to move forward. At this point, it's been, a year and a half since that happened. So yeah, you just got to move forward and, keep working.
The guys that came back, the continuity of 2019 to 2021, a defense that allowed the fewest points, that allowed the fewest completion percentage, that, how do you build on that success in this season after such a long layoff?
Honestly, I think that's what, made us as, dangerous as we were, is how close of a group we were. And I think that's going to continue. I mean, we just got to continue to do that, continue to, grind together, continue to work together. And, I think that same chemistry is going to show on the field come this year.
Mark Washington obviously did a fantastic job last season with this defense. What is it about him that gets you motivated to play for him? What is it about him in the room? What is it about him on the field that he really seems to bring the best out in everybody?
His energy. I mean, he brings energy every single day. You can't help but, go out to practice and, when you see your defensive coordinator bringing the energy like that, you can't help but do the same. And, we just have a great coaching staff overall, that guys that just, have fun doing what they're doing, super smart, super intelligent. So, I mean, it makes our jobs easier.
You're obviously a competitor. You wanna compete. I always get nervous that there's not enough sacks to go around for this defense between Dylan and Simone and JG and Teddy. I mean, like, are there enough sacks to go around in 2021 for this group?
There's always enough sacks to go around. I mean, we compete with each other too. That's what, makes it fun, is like, we want each other to get sacks, but at the same time, we're like, okay, you got a sack. Now it's my turn to get a sack. And that's just what makes it fun, and like what makes us great, so.
I was going to say, getting back in that meeting room, getting back with those guys, getting back with that D line, the linebackers. What are you most excited about for just those specific small group team meetings heading into the season?
Honestly, just the fun we have in those rooms. We come to work, but at the same time, like, we know when to have fun and when to lighten the mood a little bit. And it's a long season and a long year, and I think we have a great group of guys, and I'm just excited to be back with everybody.
We know the Grey Cup will be played on December 12th in Hamilton. We don't know who will be there. We hope it's the Ticats. But how big of a motivation is that, having played in the Grey Cup in 2019, knowing what surrounds Grey Cup? How much of a motivation is that to be able to do it in your own stadium, to get to sleep in your own bed week of Grey Cup? I have to imagine that's got to be a huge motivation this season.
Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely huge. Every year the ultimate goal is to go to the Grey Cup, and then just having it in your own backyard, doing it for the city and, the fan base that we have and the atmosphere that we have at games. I mean, it's just a huge advantage for us. So like, that's obviously motivation, knowing that if we get there, we have that little extra edge of being in front of our home crowd.
Have you visualized what August 5th is going to look like? What, running onto the field, and it will be an away stadium and there'll be a lot of away fans, but do you visualize and kind of picture what that August 5th game is going to be like?
Absolutely. I think I've done that every day since the announcement was made. It's been so long. So as soon as we got that announcement that August 5th was the start date, I mean, it's just been every day. That's been, the motivating factor.
Julian, I appreciate you doing this. It's great to see you. I can't wait to see you at Tim Hortons Field. Appreciate
you having me.
All right. We're continuing our episode here, focusing on the D linemen and the linebackers. And when I think of linebackers in the CFL, when I think of the D linemen in the CFL, there's no one I think of more than Matthew Cauz, of course, a CFL.ca contributor, a radio show host on TSN 1050 in Toronto, and a good personal friend of mine. Pleased to be joined today by him. Matt, thanks for doing this. It's great to see you. Great to hear your voice.
Great to see you as well, Louie, and it's good to see you have followed the COVID protocols when it comes to visiting a barber. That is good. You're a good citizen, following the rules.
It might be gone by Saturday. I'm not gonna lie. It might be gone by Saturday, but we'll see. Yeah, I have it now, but thank you. You look well. You look well as well, sir. I don't want to leave that out. If we're gonna throw up compliments to each other, what also looks well or looks good is the Ticats starting defensive line and linebacker. When you add in the continuity from 2019, when you add in the bodies that they actually have, the experience that they have, there's probably few that are as dangerous as they are heading into the season, is there?
There's no doubt. And it's funny, I keep wanting to say last year, but I can't. I have to go 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, 54, I think the defensive line had 54 sacks. They're like third in the CFL. So the production is there, but the continuity, I mean, let's face it, the thing about the CFL, the hard thing is as a fan, is every year, everyone is changing teams left, right, and center. It's hard to keep up. They're all back. Ja'Gared Davis, Ted Laurent, Dylan Wynn, Julian, I always mispronounce his name, Howsare. All of them are back. When do you get that? They're going to be facing offensive lines that have very little continuity. And we know there's issues with Hamilton's there, but that in and of itself gives them such an advantage, and one that they'll need because the secondary has, a lot of losses, retirements, things like that. But that defensive line is the scariest in the CFL.
Yeah, and you mentioned Dylan Wynn. Like, I'm excited to see Dylan Wynn with another year of CFL experience under his belt. Like JG, his numbers, Teddy, their numbers speak for him. But Julian Howsare kind of fits that category too. Like a full year of Mark Washington's school of defense.
Yeah. And
now here, put it into practice. Like the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit, as does the front office, for keeping this intact, but also continuing to build on what they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned Mark Washington, one of the best defensive coaches in the league. Orlando Steinhauer as well. The commitment. They were first in points allowed in 2019. This was a dominant group that I think got overshadowed a little bit just because Brandon Banks, the quarterback situation. It's going to be a scary bunch. And they're going to be facing off every time against Ottawa, where there's so many questions there on offense. And Toronto, I mean, you bring in all those names, but you got to find a way for them to all be able to work together. It's probably the number one advantage in the East is that defensive line going up against the other offensive lines.
And then the linebackers, here you go. You got Simone Lawrence coming back, single season record for tackles last year. And then you had Jovan Santos Knox. Maybe one of those moves that flew under the radar during the spur of 2 last years of free agency, but a great addition to that Ticats D.
Yeah, and when healthy, a very productive linebacker. And man, it might have flown under the radar, but you're going to feel it with, no more. I mean, look at the Larry Dean gone, Rico Murray, Delvin Breaux, and I know they're not all linebackers, but you lost a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of talent. So, like, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Simone Lawrence. Like, if we did an article of, top 10 players with the most pressure on them, Simone Lawrence is going to be there, because it's not just the production and the athletes, but it's the football IQ, like just guys who know all the sets, who know, when to audible and know how to clean up other people's mistakes. You're not going to, you're not going to have that this year, at least not early on. It's going to be up to the coaches to get it done. But yeah, for Simone Lawrence, he's going to have to gather these guys in between trash talking the other team, and really be able to just make sure everyone is where they're supposed to be.
And that kind of at the same point, the longest tenured Ticats both came to this team on the same day. That was Jeremiah Masoli, and that was Simone Lawrence. And it is almost the perfect bookend to this team, is that you got a leader in Jeremiah on one side, you got a leader like Simone on the other. And if anyone wants, I'm not sure if there's anyone who wants to win as badly as, Bob Young, Scott Mitchell, the wonderful staff who have been here a long time. But they got to be pretty close. And to have those two guys pushing everyone to be better has got to be clutch.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny. I know this is a Hamilton one, and every other team could say we're the ones most desperate. But no, it's been such a long time since Danny McManus won it. It was like 1999. And, Winnipeg, they get off the schneid. And Hamilton was the better team, 15-3, the favorite. Everyone picked the Ticats to win the Grey Cup. And then there was the Zach Collaros years and the Grey Cup against Calgary and the block from behind. And Hamilton, with all the talent they've had and all like these runs of really good football, it feels like they should have had one or two Grey Cups over the last 10, 12 years. All eyes are on them. There's more pressure on them to finally win it with this group than anyone else.
And it's funny you bring up like all the ones they could have had or they should have had. And for me, it goes back to like Ken Austin and what he started to build here. And
yeah.
I think people have an opinion about Ken Austin. I think some people have an opinion about Ken Austin. And as someone who had been around that team for a very long time, I would probably say if you have a bad opinion of Ken Austin, it's because you were never around this team. But the building blocks that he put in place 5 years ago are really starting to come to fruition here in 2021.
It's a great point. It's like Steve Yzerman's not going to get a Stanley Cup, but Tampa, they're about to win it. So they it's the same kind of thing. And you're right. Well, part of the thing with Ken Austin is, let's be honest, sometimes he didn't always have the most warm and embracing personality when chatting with the media, especially after a loss. But hey, neither does Bill Belichick. Listen to a sideline interview with Greg Popovich. I think that's part of it. Ken Austin, we could say this about him, an incredible football career, not the guy you want in charge of your media relations. How about that?
That's a very, very fair point. Let's talk about someone who thrived under Ken Austin in a different position, and that was Brandon Banks. And then June Jones comes around and says, hey, you know what? You'd be really good as a receiver. Just run as fast as you can downfield. And then he's tweaked it. And it's almost easy to forget that Brandon Banks was probably on his way to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame as a returner, before he became a receiver. But just the reinvention of Brandon Banks to be the 2019 MOP, where does he go from here? I know he's got another year of age under his belt, but he's not built like one of those guys who thinks your body's going to break down. It seems like he can match what he did last season.
Oh, absolutely. Well, look at someone like Gizmo Williams. He was doing it forever. Pinball Clemens, same thing. You're absolutely right. And first off, total credit to June Jones, because what a you think, oh, the old coach, he's going to be conservative. Anything but. It's like usually it's like, oh, no, we got to protect our return guy. He could get hurt in the receiving game. And it's the opposite. Like, that's our best weapon. He's only touching the ball, with punt and kickoff returns, maybe 5-6 times a game. We got to up that. And I think what impresses me the most about Banks is often the just return guy. You don't expect them to be able to run all these different complicated route trees. And it's not the case. Like Brandon Banks, went from return guy to polished receiver. I mean, just his ability to get in and out of breaks, his ability to create separation, and not just because I'm going to run real fast to the goal line, but I know how to create separation on my outs and different patterns. It's so much fun. I can't wait. He's the MOP for a reason. There's no reason why he can't be similar to what we saw. And and you're right. Just he's got a body that just, it's like the opposite of Jesse Lumsden. Like, you remember, like, Jesse Lumsden was, like, he was this Greek god. He looked so good and when he was healthy, but just a cursed body that always broke down. That's kind of the opposite with Banks.
Yeah, of course, Banks will be part of a dangerous receiving core that has Braylon Addison back, that has Jalen Acklin another year under his belt. Devere Posey, I know someone you watch closely in that Grey Cup run. But there is the question of who will be throwing them the football. And part of me wanted to get you on here because I wanted you to go on the record to tell people that I went on the record prior to a certain trade sending a quarterback. I've been a Dane Evans fan for a long time. I know you've been a fan of him as well, but this should be fun to watch in camp.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, good for you, Louie, for sneaking in your bona fides. And yes, it is true. Back in the TSN 1150 days, 100%. Everyone was worried. Masoli's going down. And there was Louie, cool as a cucumber. Don't worry. This other guy, he's got it. You're right. It is going to be a great battle. And we saw it with Winnipeg. You need two good quarterbacks. I mean, I hate to go on the cliche train, but it's there for a reason. It's because it exists. And and the other concern is with Riker Matthews gone and, Van Zyl, not a young fella, you're going to need two quarterbacks because there could be some hits coming their way. It's still a good offensive line, don't get me wrong. And but you're going to need two guys. It's a great battle also because they're very different. They're just different aesthetics in terms of the way they throw. They're both incredibly productive. They both have done a ton of winning. I can't wait. It's the most fun quarterback battle because oftentimes when there's a quarterback battle, it's that guy's not that good. That guy's not that good. We brought in this other guy that no one likes. Someone's got to win. This is a case of all-star versus all-star. And what's more fun than that?
Yeah. We mentioned, of course, a couple of former Ticats head coaches. The current guy is pretty good, Orlando Steinauer. He'll go into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame this season as well. What does he do for an encore as a coach? I mean, 15-3, rookie head coach. I know he's picking up the game every single day, but how does he build on the season? And therefore, how does the team build on what they did in 2019?
Well, the thing is, there's all the pressure there. You got to win. There's no feel-good story with Hamilton. There's no Cinderella story with Hamilton. If it's a 14-game season, you're gonna go 10-4. You're gonna go 10-4. You got to have home, and you've got to be able to win it. And you got out-coached in the Grey Cup, and you weren't able to figure out the way to protect the quarterback or slow down Andrew Harris. Now, most teams don't slow him down. He's really good, but for them, I mean, what's what is our lowest expectations? I think the lowest expectations is winning one playoff game and losing after that. That's the expectations, and it should be. It's a really talented team that's really intact. That's got two guys who could be the MOP at quarterback. They got Don Jackson, I think, is great at running back. You've got so much talent at receiver. This team, they'll be the class of the East. There's no doubt about it.
Did want to wrap up here with a little conversation on the Grey Cup because you mentioned that. I'm pretty sure expectations here are the Ticats should be at the Grey Cup, right? So I know you've been to Hamilton. You appreciate Hamilton. What are you most excited about? Us having the opportunity to showcase Hamilton to the rest of the CFL, to the rest of Canada, because I'm in the boat. I grew up in nearby Niagara, right? So I didn't grow up in Hamilton. I grew up near Hamilton, but I've come to appreciate it having worked here the better part of the last decade. So for you, as someone who I know appreciates Hamilton, what do you think the rest of the CFL in Canada should know come December 12th?
Yeah, I mean, I went to McMaster, so I did my undergrad, did a lot of work for Hamilton Radio. If you really want to show off, Show how expensive it's getting in this city. Everyone is like, oh, Hamilton, it's this poor. No,
We're blaming Toronto for that, though. That's not our fault. That's Toronto's fault.
I know. I mean, God, it's so. First off, it's so easy to sell the stadium. It's nestled right in with all that in the residential area. I love it. I do love all the shady parking that people will offer you on their lawns. But it's a gorgeous stadium in a really cute neighborhood. You got 4,000 trails and waterfalls and Hess Village and the waterfront. Hamilton does have so much, I understand why we make jokes about it, but that's stuff from the 70s and 80s that we kind of still do today, even though it actually doesn't really apply. You're going to have the crazy fans. You're going to have someone offering you a Jello shot at 9 a.m. that's got tequila in it. There's so many different things. It's a perfect stadium to have the Grey Cup. I mean, my God, remember having it in the snow with Toronto and Saskatchewan. I mean, or was that Edmonton? Which was the snow one? I think it was Edmonton.
At Iberwin, or are you talking about the Ottawa?
No, at Iberwin. Doug Flutie. And anyway, it was how gorgeous was it then? Hamilton's a perfect spot to have the Grey Cup.
And with that, I think that's the soundbite I was looking for this entire interview. Just that one. That's the one tweet I wanted to get out of this interview.
Yeah.
Matt Cauz, I know I took you away from your wine and shrimp, or your shrimp at the very least.
I got a shrimp ring here, and just for the listeners know, this is the first glass of wine I've had. It's a Canadian wine, Thomas Batchelder from the Niagara region, supporting local.
There you go. Matt, thanks so much for doing this. It's great to see you.
Absolutely, Louie. Always a blast. Always great to see you. It's going to be a great year.
We're talking camp, and we're talking about some of the best to ever play, and very pleased to be joined by one of those men right there, Grover Covington. Grover, thank you so much for doing this. We were just talking before we came on about memories of training camp, and even now, even this far away, removed from the game, do you still kind of get that competitive spirit this time of year? May, June, July, where I want to hit the football field again.
You know what? To be honest, it is. It's within you as far as I had a love and a passion for football, and ever since I was young. I always dreamed of playing professional football. I didn't know it would be in Canada, but I thank God that they invited me to come there and play in Canada. So, but for me, training camp, it was tough. I mean, you do everything you can to prepare yourself, in the off season, doing your own running and training, things like that. Whereas this day and age, I noticed that, like my son, he has someone to put them through the ropes, go train them and get them prepared. But in our day, you go join a gym and you do your running, you get some steps, some hills and do that and prepare yourself. But you're never really prepared, because once you put the equipment on and you go out there, and there was no such thing as just warming up, just put the equipment on, okay, let's go. And full contact, fighting for your job. And I mean, it's amazing how, only thing I thought about was I would go out, and that was when I'm trying to think, I know it was like 2 days, which is crazy, and in one day you do 2 practices, which doesn't make sense to me this day and age. Because now guys, they go out there one day, one practice, and that's it. But we would go in the morning and you work hard, and then you go lay down and rest and get ready for the afternoon practice. So it was tough. I mean, God bless. I don't know how we survived with the heat, and it wasn't as bad in Canada, but still, it was tough though. It was tough.
I was just thinking, I'm about a 5-minute drive from Brock University, which is where, of course, that's where you guys had. Do you remember? What do you remember about those training camps at Brock University in St. Catharines back in the day?
Well, the thing is that the beds wasn't comfortable, but you were so tired. You were so tired that you would sleep still, and I was kind of envious of Ben Zambiazzi, because he had so much confidence. He would just bring his bed there. He would bring his own bed, whereas I was like, I came in, I was just, whatever they gave me, I was just sleep on myself, right? But Ben would just ship everything down, I don't know. I never really, in my whole career, I really never felt like I got it made. I don't know why. It's just something. I guess you have to have that kind of. You can't take things for granted, and so I would go down there and you just get ready for camp. And camp was tough. But when I went to camp, I was all about. I don't understand how some guys could go out and hang out and things like that. For me, I would sleep, eat, rest. I was only there to win my job and to get myself ready. And I didn't take anything for granted. I had to push myself every practice.
And was it the same, from your first training camp to, when you were a 10-year vet? Like, did you approach it the same way every year, knowing with that competitive spirit that, hey, there's some guy who's thinks he's young, who's younger than me, who thinks he's stronger than me. I got to show him up. Did you have that competitive spirit every training camp?
You know what though? Every year, except for I have to say my last year when I didn't complete the whole year, my 11th year, was because I got involved with a business just during that time, and I ended up not training as much because I was trying to run a business and prepare myself. And that's one thing that you can't do. Football is so competitive, so tough that you have to put the work in. And my last year, I feel bad about that because I regret that because I had to keep up with the pack, which I wasn't used to, because when I used to when they make us do goalpost to goalpost, I would always want to be the number one D lineman to be running in the front. But my last year, I always remember I had to run with the pack, which it frustrated me, but it was my fault because I didn't put the work in. But all those other years, I wasn't there during my rookie year because I was in Montreal until they got traded. But doing training camp, I never took my job for granted. I went in there, I wanted to work hard, and I pushed myself. I wasn't gonna just joke around and hang out and stuff. I was like, I took it seriously. I took it seriously because I wanted us to. I wanted to play well, and I always felt like there's someone wanting to take my job. So if you was a defensive end, I wasn't too friendly with you because I know you want to take my job. So I'm not gonna be. I'll love you off the field, but when I'm going fighting for my job, I'm not gonna be that friendly and just hand my job over to anybody. You got to take my job.
And when you think back of camp and you think about those two-a-days, and a lot of times when I talk to people and when I talk to teams, they say that's when we became a family. That's when we really clicked. That's when we started to know each other. Is it just the fact that you're living together, you're eating your meals together, you're with each other so much that how does that click? Where does that click at camp?
The thing is that it's it's like to this day, I talk to Mike. I stay in touch with a few of the guys I played ball with, and it's something that you're very competitive. Everybody wants to be the best, and they fight, but it's a team sport. So you have to have that connection. They gotta have your back, and you gotta have their back. You have to because once we're on that football field together, I mean, it's us against the world. It's us against them. It's us against whoever we're gonna face. And so you want that person to me, it would drive me crazy if I got a teammate that would just want to hang out. Some guys could do that, but if we got a game the next day, I feel like you should not want to go out anywhere. But you got certain guys, I hate to say it, they could hang out and still perform. So what do you say to a guy that's talented? Myself personally, I would make sure that I'm gonna be getting my rest. I'm gonna eat well and hydrate and get ready for the battle, because I love football games. I didn't really like training camp that much, to be honest. But as far as once you put the equipment on and get on the football field, I love that. I love that aspect of it, and I love the fact that it's a game where I really appreciate the people around me because they help you become a better player. When you got when you need to have talent on your team. And so without D-line, I always remember we had a talented D-line. And so by having a talented D-line, they just couldn't just pick on one player and say, we just going to double team and let everybody else go. No, you need to double team all of us. And that's the way we looked at it. So of course we feel like you can't stop us. You cannot stop us because it's more because we had talent. And so by having that talent during the time, that would help us.
I looking back on those teams in the the mid 80s, looking at the team now, I come back to the idea that how important practices are because like you said, your D line was so good back 85, 86, but the offensive line was so good too. So what did that mean to do battle with a good offensive line against a good defensive line in practice, and then go execute in game against guys you can actually really want to hit?
You know what though, that was truly a blessing because our O-line, I just remember those days. Our O-line, we was very competitive on the D-line, but our O-line had swagger. They very aggressive. It makes you think of, it felt like they was like D linemen because you will not intimidate me, and so they was that way. And so when we have to battle, like I didn't like one-on-ones. I hate to say it. I didn't like one-on-ones. Mike Walker loved one-on-ones. A lot of people love one-on-ones because the problem is I hated to lose. I never wanted to lose a one-on-one battle. So when you line up against guys that are tough, and it was like so much pressure as far as you put your hand in the dirt, and all of a sudden I'm getting ready to go against this one guy, not two guys, just one guy. I don't want to lose to one guy. That's how I looked at it. And so I mean, it was great, Jason, Miles, we had such a strong O-line, and that's the reason why it made us better because we made them better because we come at them hard, and we knew that they didn't want to be embarrassed by us, and so we became a great team that way because we battled. We worked hard against each other. We didn't just say, hey, I'm going to take it easy. No. We fought. We fought against each other.
Yeah,
in a good way.
That 86 team obviously was special, and a lot of people are looking at this 2021 team as kind of cut from the same cloth, right? Competitive, guys who have bought in, guys who have gone through heartbreak, though, with this team, guys who really, really want to win. How do you motivate that? How do you translate those feelings, that energy onto the football field?
You know what, though? It's like you never take anything for granted. You never get comfortable. It doesn't matter what your record is. You have to have a good enough record to get into the playoffs. But then once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. I mean, it's just so crazy. I just think back when you mentioned the 86. I mean, 86, that was the first time I think it was like a 2-game total point. What? Playoffs. Like, we lost the first game. I'm thinking
by a lot though, right?
It was like, well, I think I think they beat us 31-17, like, and it was like into Toronto, right? I'm like, what is that? So I already know they had their bags packed and everything, because they just all thing they had to do is if they lost it, as long as they have the most total points, then they'll be fine, right? But yeah, that was a game where, you can almost like a person go like this. You almost feel defeated. But the thing is our team, we just like this, hey, we got to fight. And we had to go to Toronto, and we had to win that game in Toronto. So, I mean, it was just the fact that we end up going to the Grey Cup was just, I look at that as like almost like a little miracle in a sense because everything was against us. I know that they already knew they was going to the Grey Cup, and I hate to say it, I would never cheer for Toronto, and I would be highly upset to lose to them going to the Grey Cup.
I was just thinking. So over my shoulder here, it's a Mike Kerrigan jersey. I know you played with Mike Kerrigan. He was my uncle. So I was actually, my Uncle Mike met his wife at Brock University. So likely you met my aunt before even I did. So that's the little connection here. So the small world that we live in here in the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
It really is. What a player. What a player. What a player. I mean, you have to hand it to him. He played great.
Yeah, that 86 team is definitely special. The 2021 team is definitely going to be special as well. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for doing this. Can we count on seeing you at the Grey Cup if we can get you over the border on December 12th? Can we make that happen?
You know what though? I'm really, because I've had my shot, so thank God. And my good friend is going to Hull, and so I'm gonna try my best to make sure I get out that way. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. I'm gonna do everything I can.
Exactly. We're going to do everything we can to make sure you're here too, Grover. Thank you so much for doing this. Truly an honor to get to talk to you. Thank you. We'll see you very soon, right?
All right. God bless. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, the listener, the viewer, however you're deciding to get this podcast into your ears. We appreciate it. We will be back with a new episode. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you stay locked in right here. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It's been Louie B. This has been the 2021 season preview for the Hamilton Tiger Cats presented by TELUS. And again, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode.